Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're the hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every day, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can view all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues that affect you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
There we go. Well, good morning, folks. I'm Mark Hamilton. I'm going to call the CETA meeting to order on January 23rd, 2025. It is 7:01 by my clock. And the first thing to do is to do a roll call. So, Joyce, would you do a roll call of members?
Allen.
Present.
Good
timing.
Garcia Sierra. Hamilton.
Present.
Hardy.
Here.
Maldonado.
He's there.
Present.
Potts. And Sanders.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. We will next move forward to the approval of the minutes. You all got the minutes from December 5th, 2024. I assume everybody's had a chance to take a look at them. Is there any discussion or correction to the minutes as they came out? Okay, hearing none, we will move approval of the said minutes.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded by Alder Allen and Ms. Sanders. All those in favor, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Hearing none, we have minutes that have approved. Do we have any public appearances for non-agenda items? Okay, the answer is no to that. Next, we will move into item 5, which is resolutions and ordinances. Ordinance 2024 Q37, outdoor lighting recommendations. So, Ben, is it you?
Yeah, that's me again.
Okay.
I'm one of the environmental engineers at the City of Fitchburg. I can just run through a brief overview here of this ordinance language that's in front of you. This lighting ordinance was developed per request of the Resource Conservation Commission to develop some lighting standards for new development. The language in here would apply to any type of project that goes through ADR, or Architectural Design Review, and it establishes some fairly simple standards. So there's a requirement for full cutoff lighting. There, it limits light trespass, so this would be the amount of light that can spill over from the subject property to an adjacent property. And then it also has some requirements for the intensity of light for parking lots, depending on the type of use. In addition to that, there is also some special language in there for outdoor merchandising and display lots. So think of like a car lot, who, they have some special needs with their lighting, considering their merchandise. And then it also includes a special permit section. So that would be for developments that, for one reason or another, cannot meet all of the standards outlined in this ordinance. And it basically outlines a process for them to get an approval or a variance, essentially, for their non-conforming lighting. So with that, I guess that's the very, very brief overview of the lighting ordinance. So far, it's been to Plan Commission, Resource Conservation Commission, and Board of Public Works. Plan Commission and Resource Conservation Commission both recommended for approval, and this Board of Works postponed, and it will be coming back to them on their January, I think, 27th meeting. So with that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions with anything regarding this proposed ordinance.
So you said this is just for new development, or?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, so there's no retrofitting going back, okay.
Mr. Chair. Yes, Mike. Yep. Ben, can you just share some information? Two of the entities that we had questions related to this ordinance and the impact to them are the Zimbrick dealerships and then also our friends at Edgewood College. Can you just talk about those two types of entities and where they fall under this ordinance and the process that they would have to go through for any modifications?
Absolutely. So, I previously mentioned there was some specific language in there for outdoor merchandising areas and display lots. That language was actually from the City of Madison's lighting ordinance. We shared that language with Zimbrick for their review, and they did not express any concerns with what was in there. As far as the Edgewood College and their sports complex, they expressed some concerns with being able to meet the light trespass, or the amount of light spilling over onto adjacent properties. So that's where that special permit process would come in. Essentially, what would be asked of them is to put together a brief narrative explaining the lighting plan, and then more or less their explanation as to why it's not possible for their use to meet the standards, and then just an explanation as to their meaning to work towards the intent of the ordinance and their use of the best available technology to get them as close to conformance as they can.
And that would be handled administratively?
Correct.
Through the planning?
That is correct. Right now, yes, that would be something that the administrator would approve per the current language here.
Question for you, Ben. So you talked about Zimbrick and you talked about Edgewood, and I know the Edgewood situation down on Monroe Street to the high school. Is that going to be how are they going to use those fields? Because we haven't heard this presentation for a couple of years. Is there going to be a lot of nighttime activities?
I don't think we've gotten that kind of level of information as far as, we've got the types of fields and uses, that will be there, but not necessarily kind of information on the hours and things like that. With this ordinance, I think when it first started to come forward, we all kind of, as staff, asked ourselves, well, we already, through Plan Commission, Architectural Design and Review, they already reviewed light plans. And so we're already working with people to have dark sky compliant and cut off light fixtures. So I'll speak for myself. I don't see there being a problem in our community. So it seems like we're kind of bringing forward an ordinance to solve a problem that I'm not sure that we've had a lot of concerns and complaints about there. So that's why with some of these respective uses, we wanted to make sure that if there is an ordinance, passed, that it works for them, and also that the process isn't onerous as far as where, again, that special permit would be handled administratively and not necessarily calling out a public hearing process and everything.
Well, my other comment is it's been postponed to two other city committees. And only one. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at Plan Commission and Public Works, so it's only one. Okay. My other question then is, I know they're talking about putting pickleball courts and lights over there. I assume that's going to come under that because that'll be new. You've already got baseball being played or softball being played over there at night, so I assume that will all tie into those things in the future, and it'll be an administrative discussion versus a whole public hearing, right?
Yeah, that would be kind of a special use. I mean, any kind of, sports field in general. Obviously, I think everyone knows the big lights that they have at, baseball fields, tennis courts, what have you. It's just, you kind of need it for it to be, a high-class functioning, athletic use.
Right. Yeah. Yes, Jay.
Yeah, there actually have been some issues that I'm aware of. There was recently, when was it? October, I think. One of the additions to Terra Vesta came in with some lighting fixtures that were not dark sky compliant. And even before that, if you go down Central Park Way, or Central Park Drive Street Parkway, I don't know what it's called. Central Park thing.
Place, I think.
Place.
Yeah.
I was absolutely astounded when they went up. There are light fixtures that are basically just a big globe on the end of a stick. And I couldn't believe that. There's like a dozen of them. And I don't know how those made it through any approval process, because when we did some of the earlier stuff on Uptown, I thought building an urban environment meant we were going to do as much as we could in that respect. So there are reasons why we need this ordinance, and I know we have certain standards that have been put into the McGaw Park neighborhood plan, because we were a little more thorough in that plan than we've been in some of the other ones. But that one I know has some lighting standards in it, and I think this just helps to make things more uniform across the city.
Thank you. Yes, Mayor.
So we have other complaints too about the lights on the Drive, on the new assisted living facility. Some of the neighbors on the Remington Park have been complaining about the light last year a lot. So we had to go over some of them, and they are dark sky compliance, but for some reason they don't like the light. So, but we have heard complaining about, and I think this this ordinance is more preventing and proactive for the future. And I think this is, I think this is something, even though when things come to Plan Commission, we recommend the dark sky and all of that, but I think to have it in an ordinance, I think it's going to be more effective and preventive.
Okay,
So what is the complaint process? What if somebody doesn't like the lighting? What do they do, and what are the steps that they take to resolve the issue?
That might be a question best suited for code enforcement at this point. Now, without there being a code to enforce, I don't know that there is much done.
Well, some of the permits, I imagine that they're not going to be approved if they are not in compliance, because they need to show all of that, the new, especially all the new development,
So this, just to clarify again, this would be, and I think I heard this from you, this would be new development versus existing. So the situation over by where the mayor and I live is a different one, but because it's already there and up. So okay.
Well, I mean, as things get replaced.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think they'd have to. I mean, this is not a high bar to meet, so it's just something that is nice for our, especially in the residential neighborhoods, but also just in the city in general.
Okay.
So is we're just looking at not the RCC who recommended that this is for single family and duplexes too. We're looking at the original ordinance, correct, Ben?
That's what I've been discussing, yeah.
Okay. Good. Well, I'm just going to make a couple comments myself, just because I have a little institutional knowledge. I know that this was something that Tom Hovell always stressed when he was here to make sure that lighting was an issue, and made sure that, that we addressed not having spillage into other. So I guess I don't feel like this is a problem. And I guess the couple of problems we've had We're still small enough where we deal directly with the property owner and are able to come to some conclusion. And I also want to just mention that I was at the Bell Brunel Observatory, and there were two astronomers from the UW there doing research, and they actually commented to me on how well the city of Fitchburg does with their dark sky compliance for their research. So to me, that said a lot. I feel like that if there was a problem, that they would mention it, but they actually were very appreciative of all the work that we've done to make sure that there isn't light pollution. So I thought that was important, and they're experts. So just my 2 cents.
I thought I read in there that single-family homes and duplexes are exempt from this, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Yes, Andy.
So I guess kind of piggybacking then on Joyce's comment about how this is.
You're turned off.
I'm on.
Oh, okay.
That this is something that planning's already doing. I guess if you have an issue with a current development coming in with the lighting, what do you point to when you say you can't do this? It's not dark sky compliant. I mean, I guess what's your current basis in the ordinance to point to tell a developer that they need to change their lighting?
Sure. So right now I'm not involved in any of the lighting review. I would have to talk to our planning team and see what they have to say about that.
Are there other comments from CETA members? Yes.
I will make another comment.
Go right ahead.
And I'm going to stick up for my planning colleagues, because I know that they are like tapped to the max with everything that's going on and really don't have the time to go out and audit these developments to see where the lighting is. So another reason for not having an ordinance.
What?
Okay, is there further discussion on the, yes, Mike?
Just to Jenny's question there, the ordinance that we're looking at is the original draft, but RCC, if I'm understanding correctly, is recommending that it does cover single family and two family.
That's what I thought.
Okay, so when it gets reported out at the council meeting, there will be reports from each committee and what their action was. So RCC is recommending that it covers single family and two family.
Nor existed.
That would be new, right?
New.
Yeah.
New.
Why do you permit this light infiltration from existing places? I mean, if it's bad, why don't we just ban it?
I would imagine the cost to go around and retrofit. Who's going to police this? And right?
Yeah, those were the concerns: time, inability to police and enforce.
And enforce, yeah.
There's a house I drive by when I go to work, and there are two lights that looks like a freight train is coming at me. These are outdoor lights for the guy's yard lights. Now, they've got to be pouring over to his neighbors, driving them nuts. I have the problem up north, and I talked to my neighbor, and we figured that out. He doesn't need to run them all night. But, I mean, if it's a problem for new construction and new people, and we should take care of the old people as well. If a problem is a problem, it's a problem. Fix it.
Other comments?
Are you volunteering to to police?
A BB gun works wonders on somebody.
There you go.
We didn't hear that. Other comments from CETA members or staff or guests? Okay, hearing none, you want us to vote on the resolution? Okay, we will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move approval.
Moved by Alder Allen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Sanders.
Question?
I have a question. Well,
Yes.
Go ahead, Dan.
We're voting on what's in this package, not including single family and duplex.
Yeah, correct.
I think so.
Yeah.
Every committee made some recommendation. Planning made some recommendation on Tuesday night, and so those one are going to come to council.
So I guess I'll take a step backwards then based on that comment. Do we want to make any recommendations into this plan before we vote on it? I've heard Dan discuss existing. Anything else? Do we want to include that in our recommendations?
If you're going to make a modification, I need to know where in the resolution we'll be making the change so I can note it on our report back. So we can't just make a blanket recommendation without knowing where we're going to reference it.
What is the committee's deposition or predisposal on making a recommendation to change it or take it as is?
Well, I think we've already established that we're not talking about existing homes.
Correct.
So, to your point, you know, there isn't a whole lot we can do about my neighbor's lights in his driveway shine right into my master bedroom. It's horrible. But in this scenario, if we changed anything, it wouldn't resolve existing construction. Only new construction.
So the motion and second before us is accept it as we have it written. And is there any further discussion on the matter? Hearing none, we'll move to taking a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
You got that, Joyce? Yep. Okay. All right, we will move on to the next item on the agenda. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Ben.
you.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Ben. Next, we're going to look at Resolution 1725, amending the 2025 Affordable Housing Fund budget. And I will turn it over again to Mike and Joyce.
Lorraine's going to cover this one.
Yes.
So we are currently working on revising or updating the housing plan. So the first step is amending the budget so that we can start the RFP process. So more than likely, we'll get that in front of council either at the end of February or the beginning of March.
Can you take your hand off the mic? Causing radio.
Are there any questions? Yes.
Revise the housing plan?
So it is a process. So again, kind of that RFP process is going to take a little bit, selecting a consultant. Mm-hmm. And then once we select the consultant, I would say getting the process completed would be more likely in like September range to get it completed.
And I've got a question. You could find an intern. You're asking to hire an intern to help with this?
Absolutely. So looking at working with La Follette for looking at the fees and comparing it to other municipalities and see where we kind of fall in and if we need to make updates. So that'll kind of support that housing plan to let us know where we stand in that area.
Thank you. Other questions? Yes, Alder Allen.
Yeah, so this particular thing is just to hire the LTE, right? So it's about $3,000 or so to hire the LTE.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, or the intern, yeah. So this doesn't actually get the RFP out, it just maybe gets it created.
Correct. There'll be another process for that as well, so for the plan.
What's the funding source for this? Is this, it looks like it's just coming out of fund balance.
I'll let you guys jump in. Sure.
There's two scenarios that could happen here. One is we're working with the Realtors Association, possibly on a grant. Okay, so we're waiting to hear on that. That could cover the $3,000. If that doesn't materialize, then the funds would come from our housing fund for it. So those are the two options that we've been working with the finance department on. And Jay, this scope of work is specifically focused on the fee schedule, which was a key part of information in our 2019 housing plan, to do an updated snapshot in time as far as how does Fitchburg's fee schedule related to housing and development compared to our peer communities. And then the other part of the scope of work is we would like the intern to also check with them, because usually they'll follow like data collection, but then they also like a policy element as well. So what are their policies related to affordable and workforce and senior family, senior housing, as far as are they providing any fee or regulatory kind of relief or like density bonuses or things like that. And to survey our peer communities here, we'd also like them to survey maybe comparable communities in the greater Milwaukee area, the Twin Cities, and possibly Chicago, just to kind of see what other communities are doing out there in that.
Well, since we're going to be doing that, and I'm not really a big advocate for scope creep, but sometimes that happens. Something that should be included is also the amount of time it takes for a project to get approved in Fitchburg, because we've seen through various news reports over the last year or two that Fitchburg seems to be able to get this done much faster than other communities, and that might be worthy of higher fees.
No, I think as the Smart Growth Greater Madison analysis showed, Fitchburg is the most efficient with our planning and public works team with moving projects through the entitlement and approval process.
And we're just talking residential, not commercial with this intern? They're only going to look at residential?
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In that grid in the housing plan, it kind of did a scenario of a development of like single family and multifamily there. I can't remember what the actual mix of the units were in the 2019 plan, but then it showed what would be kind of the amount of fees for that development scenario.
Okay.
Can I add something? Lauren, the City of Fitchburg is a member of the Mayor's Innovation Projects in 2004. Part of being a members, they also draft policy for the members. So we can talk, and then maybe they can do some work for us for free too, because it's part of the membership.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And
Further
then
discussion? Go ahead.
Just to continue on with the housing plan, there will be a resolution going to the council in February, probably the second meeting in February.
Either the second meeting or the first meeting in March. So
Okay.
just, yes.
Yep. And that'll be a budget amendment for dollars for the Fitchburg Housing Plan update. And we've been having some conversations with some consultants out there just to find out what's kind of a good estimate for the cost of an update to our Fitchburg Housing Plan. And then also kind of how much time would it take to do that update. So Mayor Julio, when Lorene mentioned September, part of the reason we're putting that out there is based on some of those conversations with some consulting firms as far as what they think it would take from a scope of work and also from a time frame to get that plan updated.
And the other piece is we really want to include in this plan the voices of the community. So having some forums, especially in our healthy neighborhoods, to kind of get some feedback of how we can make some improvements in housing. So that piece is crucial. So that's also time, takes time as well.
Well, the position description looks like it's well done and well thought out. I think it's something that will help us move forward. I know the staff, city staff, are up to their necks in priorities and work, and this helps, and we've got the funds to do it, and I think it's a good idea. And is there further discussion on the resolution? Then we'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Alder Allen and Mr. Potts. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, you're ready to go.
Thank you.
We will move on to the next item on the agenda, item number 6, and a report by our mayor, who's here this afternoon, Mayor Arata Frada.
Hello.
The 3 minutes are yours.
Oh, 3 minutes?
Take all the time you need.
No, it's fine. So first of all, I want to say thank you for your service in this committee. I was part of this committee for many, many years before I started my tenure here as an alder and then as a mayor. So I remember coming to 7 o'clock in the morning for many years. So what I am doing is, because it's the beginning of the years and I am inviting myself to all of the different commission and committees. I chose the correct word. To present you with some of the priority or the things that we are working and what are the priorities or project coming in 2025. And also to listen from you, what do you think are the priorities for you for this year, to see if they align with my priority and the council priority, and then if you have any other concern, input, feedback that you want to provide me about economic development in the city. As we mentioned before, our staff is a capacity. So we have started in 2023-24 a couple of projects that they haven't been finalized. So this is one of the things that I decided that I am not bringing any new priority or project. So 2025 is going to be a year that we complete several of our initiatives and projects. We have plenty. For me, one of the biggest priority for me and the council is, the housing initiative and strategies. What we are planning to do. We have a couple of things on the pipeline. As you know, we are still working in 2 neighborhood plans, the South, the Stoner Prairie, and the Greenfield. So they are in the final phase, I will say. I think council will see them coming to when we finalize the draft. It's going to come through different commission and committees during the spring and the summer, and we hope to have a final project by the end of the summer. So we need to have those projects done before we start the revision of the comp plan. The revision of the comp plan is one of my biggest priority. Also, the revision of the zoning code. As we know, our zoning code have never been revised, so we need to determine what are the things that we need to modify to make that code more agile and to the new, at the current time. So the other project that we are working, and we have a couple of meetings with some private developers, is workforce housing project. So some of those projects are going to come to you soon. The idea is how we can partner with the private sector, public and private sector to move forward with some of the workforce housing here in Fitchburg. We don't have workforce housing single family. We have a couple of projects that they are multifamily rentals. But the idea is, can we do this here in Fitchburg? How much it's going to cost? How this partnership will look like, with the private sector. So we are working on that. That one is also going to be discussed in this committee and the housing committee. The other thing that Laureen is working in the developer roundtable. We are planning to do one in April this year to invite all the developers and people. I don't know why you're laughing, but to invite all the, to the developer community and also realtors and people know about housing. To have an honest and candid conversation about what are the things that we are doing good in Fitchburg and what are the things that we need to improve. Because this is to have this to do like an assessment of the current situation and how we can, how we can improve in housing growth. People talk out there about our growth. I think the growth that the city has is a planned growth. We follow our comp plan. But the other thing is we need to educate our residents why we need to grow, why we are growing, and determine. Also, it's a question that we all need to ask: is we want to continue to grow or not? I think all of those discussions are going to be part of when we go through the comp plan. So we are still working, the efficiency navigator. I know that Joe has been working very hard on this. We are going to have some, I think, the contract running soon through council. And then, as Lori mentioned, we are working on the updating the ideas to update the housing plan because it was developed in 2019. It's time. We have to revise these plans every 5 years. So the other thing that I work in and I start discussing internally is because the zoning, revising the zoning code is going to take some time, but what are the things that we can, the minor revision to the zoning code that we can implement in the meantime? So we call it minor. There are a couple that I am discussing with the planning department. One of these is something that you discussed, or the housing department, the housing committee discussed a couple of years ago, is the accessory dwelling units. I think it's something that we need to revise. We need to have the conversation. I think the previous council previous mayor didn't like that, and it never was brought to the attention to the council, but I am open to the discussion, and I think it's something that we need to discuss. Maybe eventually you will see that coming, especially the people sitting in the housing committee. And there is a couple of other minor zoning that we are discussing. So the other thing that I have been doing is since I became mayor, I met regularly with business owners here in Fitchburg, Mike and the city administrator. We usually go to those meetings one-to-one with them to discuss, why you're still in Fitchburg, how we can help you to grow and stay here. So for me, because of my background, I am, very, it's part of where I think like I have those skills and expertise to feel comfortable to having those discussions. And it's good to have those because they think that, okay, they are here, we also want to bring new clients, but also we need to retain the one that we have in the city. And this is a priority for me too. So we are doing that. We did that last year. We are going to continue to schedule more this year. I already sometimes have, I like to meet with them. I want to listen what are their challenges, what are the opportunities to growth. And also I can share what we are doing at the city level because sometimes we don't share all the great things that we are doing here. So that one has been part of what I am doing and also meeting with developers. There are a couple of new projects coming in the pipeline and, I like to meet with them and, and understand what they're trying to do. Is a correct fit for the city or no. And the other thing that concerns me a little bit and that sometimes it keeps me awake at night is, and this I have discussed this with Mike with internally, is the lack of buildable lot that we are going to have experienced in 2 years. This is what is so important that we need to move forward with those, open more land for, for development or determine out. Sometimes there are infill land, in the city, but, the landowners, they don't want to sell. So, the ideal is to build on those infill lands first. The other thing that we need to think, and we discuss in Planning Commission, is, there are a lot of land use that it was mixed use office building, and we know the office building is not coming back. So we need to revise those land uses to, if we can convert it to other uses, you know what I mean? So that one was discussed in the planning in the commission. And also, one of the things that I want to see how we can incorporate, I was watching last night the meeting for Ag and Rural Affairs, and I think they think that we don't care about the farmland or the farmer here in Fitchburg. And this is what is important to determine how we can bring them to the table too, how we can reach out to them and say, I am curious, I want to know how many active farms we have in Fitchburg. Some people say that the farmland is decreasing. How we are, do we know the data? How many acreage is decreasing per year? All of those things start thinking to me about how we can incorporate that sector of the industry sector into our conversation here in CEDA. Maybe we should have a representative of the farm in the sector here in CEDA. I don't know. This is our ideas. You know what I mean? The other thing is what else? We have, the Healthy Neighborhood Initiative, because it's part of, you have a representative in that, is also working on revising the strategic plan. That one is, we annexed another neighborhood plan in 2022, and that has a lot of, challenges. So how we are, incorporating that neighborhood in the revise, and what are the new, the challenges that new neighborhood brings. We have plenty of road construction. This is part of economic development too, because we have better roads, better access. So, phase 2 and phase 3 of Zion Road is happening in 2025, and also Ficherona Road reconstruction. So some of the other projects that we are working on is there is plenty of park project on the pipeline, that we had to finish. Southdale Park is, we're going to start with the phase 1 of the reconstruction of that park. The idea is that hub is going to be completed by the end of the summer. It's under construction. We are adding 4 more pickleball courts to the McGough Park. We are not doing we are putting the infrastructure for the light, but we are not going to have the light yet because it's another $300,000 that we don't have. And then we need to think if we can partner with the Fitchburg Chamber, with the sponsor or the group, how we can raise the money also, because this one is going to be our regional, pickleball court area, and they want more amenity in that in those courts. How we can partner with the private sector to say fundraising for the lights, It's going to have 2 open shelters too for the shade too, so that one. Tower Hill Shelter is going to be also renovated this summer. The North Stoner Prairie Park is also is going to start the construction this summer too. The other thing that we are planning to do is the Kid Crossing Park. Council, through the CIP last year, authorized changing the funding formula because that park, the Kid Crossing Park, is in our community park, and we need to, the condition of the park, they are not the best. I think this, and we did a couple of years ago the safety audit. So that park is going to be, the design is going to start in 25, and the idea is to, redo it next year. And there are several other parks projects that when I mention all of that, you can say, what is has to be with CEDA, blah, blah, blah. But all of this, improving our park system, also improve the quality of life of our city, and attract people to our city to live, you know what I mean? For me, it's a connection. It's part of who we are. Then there are, as you know, there are other priorities that they are not, related to this committee, but, regarding the facility for the police station, this is coming along very well. The bidding process will start this summer, and the idea is to start to do some groundbreaking in the fall. And everything's coming on the budget, so this is a good news, so we'll see. Also, what else? And there are a lot, me personally, something that I want to emphasize is how to do a better outreach to our residents. Our referendum failed. In that referendum, one of the positions that the city really, really needs is a communication director, especially or coordinator, whatever it is, but we need someone in charge of the communication of the city. And we need to think about how we can be out in front of the community. And I am planning to do listening session this year, going to every district. Last year, what I started to do is, during the summertime and fall, walk in the neighborhoods, especially in the H&I. I used to go with Chief Morales or some officer from the police department and introduce myself to all the leasing offices and bringing information about, how they can connect the resident to the city. We have the Notify Me. Are people aware that we have that? So I think we need to celebrate more all the things that we are doing in the city, and also educate our people about how our budget works. One of the things that it was doing through the referendum process and going to all the listening sessions, that it was open my eyes, was that people don't understand how our budget and how to use the different sorts of funding that the city receives, and the restriction that we have. So something that we need to do a better job in educating. We are talking internally how we can create some educational videos too. And I invite you, you're part of the city, you can meet with Jeremy. He always looking for people and to share, what CIDA is doing, Mark, you like to, So, and this is I also encourage all my council members to do that, because this is how we are telling people what we're doing. We have this meeting, but then, but what else, what else? The other thing that I am looking is I am vetting in artificial intelligence, and the other thing that we discuss internally is how we can use, there are a lot of tools that can automate or make our process more efficient. I went to a conference in December for my other job called Digital CPA, and a lot of, how we can use artificial intelligence and how other, in organization and companies, and this is an organization, especially in government, since we don't have, sometimes we cannot hire more staff, how we can use, technology to help us to improve our process. So what else? I want to say congratulations to the CIDA team for the Pro Housing Grant. We got $600,000 for the affordable housing. And this is other thing that we want to tell our neighbors and residents, that we are continuously looking for other source of revenue, so we cannot be a tax burden to the taxpayer in the city. So the other thing I want to mention, I allocated $50,000 for a grant writer. So I think we need to find a grant writer, but there are some money allocated for to hire someone that if we have a special project that we need someone to write a grant. I think this is a win-win situation, because if we it's 50,000, or we can pay, I don't know, charge at 20,000 for a grant of $400,000 that we can get. It's a win-win. So I think this, I don't think this is an spending or expend. I think it's an investment. So what else? I don't know if I am forgetting. Oh, the other thing I talked to Mike about how we can create like a housing initiative toolkit for the city. I know that we have the Affordable Housing Fund. What else we can do with that fund? You know, can we do loans? You know, with 1-2% for down payment? I don't know. What are the things that we can do with that? You know, the rent to own was not approved by the council. What other project, you know, we can use the money for? So what else? And as you know, last year we created TID number 18 on Lazy Road. And the idea is how to bring, you know, more, you know, light industrial businesses to the city too. And I know Mike is working hard on that. But there are a lot of good projects. Mike, I don't know, can you, the last thing is the word, do you have? Yeah. The other thing that we did last year is, you know, because I am an accountant and I need to see my spreadsheet and my, you know, I wanted to be sure how, for housing, Dane County Regional, was the planning strategy. Mm-hmm. In that document mentioned that the city of Fitchburg should be building 495 units per year or something like that. So for me, it's important to determine how many of those projects are already under construction, what are the ones that have been already approved by the Plan Commission and Council, but they haven't not started, and which one are the ones that are in the pipeline. So these are the three categories that the way we designed this worksheet, and you can see that we have single family or residential and then a multifamily. So that one is, it was updated on January 6th this year. Diana and also Lauren, I think you're going to be working directly with Diana to make this worksheet current, is to visualize how many units we have in the pipeline and how many are coming, and on which are those ones. And as you know, we have a lot of multifamily coming recently. And people see those because they are vertical, you know what I mean? But we have neighborhoods. So we have 2 neighborhoods that are under construction. And how many of those units are going to bring those 2 neighborhoods? I think last year I received some report, maybe I can share with you, that inspection sent me last week. I think there were like a 122 single family last year. 100, yeah. So that one is, for me, is a guide to have this worksheet because I can visualize and I say, okay, if we are, how many units are we bringing to the city every year, or potential, or in the pipeline. So there are a couple of the last one. I don't know what is those one are the. Oh, I don't see. Because these are the units that they are completed, or they're planning to be completed in 24, 25, and then, yes. And the last one is in the pipeline. We have a lot of, discussion with developer in the pipeline. But we need to strive to have that balance, 50-50, owner occupy and rental. So, and for me, this is visualize where we are. You know what I mean? We are short. I think we are short on owner occupy. But this is something that to look forward in the next 3 to 5 years is what are the next neighborhood, single family neighborhood they're coming. So that's it. Yeah.
Mike, on the spreadsheet, it doesn't, I don't see the development in Swan Creek.
Yeah, it's there.
Number
Oh,
9.
there it is. Okay.
Yeah. Fred DeVillers.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, so this is a document that I sent to the council every time that is updated. And this is, I wanted to, we developed this last year because I needed to have in my mind to visualize where we are. So as you know, we have plenty of projects coming. You know, we are busy, and this is good because our growth allow us to cover all the existing costs that this city is having. So,
Julia,
that's
I don't see the Gorman.
No, it's not there yet.
Because we're not there yet. Yeah,
no,
okay.
yeah.
Another one that I don't think is on here yet is the Holmes Bobberschmidt land in
we have
uptown Fitchburg, north of the Avante land.
Yeah.
We're working with them. We had introduced Phil Spheum to them, and they've made a lot of good progress, and they've actually submitted a updated draft to amend the Article 3 for that property. So hopefully that will start to open up that property for development in phases and everything. So that's
that one is very,
a big land area
yeah.
that we could really use coming forward here.
So one is infill land, so this is great. So that one, it will be the new addition to
So
that.
if we took a guess at these things that aren't quite there yet, how is that? How are you feeling about these numbers if those two possible projects are done?
In which
For Gorman, and then the other one, the last one you just...
For single family?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I am very excited to see those developments moving forward, but you know they are still.
But we'll still be short. If
we need to also looking at the 5 year, the 10 year. You know what I mean? This is the issue.
Yeah.
True.
I think the other unique aspect of Fitchburg is that we're part of 3 school districts.
Yeah.
And so right now, one of the challenges is in the Verona School District, we're currently out of single-family lots there. We just had a meeting with Payne and Dolan this week because they have that one area of land right at Fitzgerald Road and Lacey Road. And we said, bring it forward. You know, they've got a comprehensive development plan for that property. But at this time, they haven't reached agreement yet with a potential development entity that would acquire that land and actually bring it forward.
Yeah, because we have school issues and we have busing issues. So, yeah, I would imagine you have to work closely with the school districts before you start building hundreds of houses on their district.
Can we get a copy of this, Mayor Julia?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'd like to
He has
see
it.
this. It helps
Yeah.
us formulate
Yeah.
where we're coming with things.
No, I
Because
know.
I think what Jenny just said, we've got all these colliding priorities. And we had a discussion about the farmland a little
Yeah.
bit ago. That's all got to come in because what little I've been here, the growth is going this way. It's going south.
Yeah, we cannot grow.
We can't go the other way. So, I mean, we got to figure out how we do that in the right fashion and then deal with other priorities. But I'd like to, just for the committee, just to see this.
Yeah.
If you could throw it in the minutes, Mike and Joyce or something, that'd be great.
We can forward it to you. I've got
That's
it
fine.
as
Thank
an
you.
attachment.
Thank you.
Yeah, last week I had a meeting with another developer that's bringing another proposal in District 4 for workforce housing. And that one is great because it's in an area where, you know, we have the transit, we have the retail, we have the entertainment, you know, people can walk to the supermarket. So that's something that maybe is going to come, I don't know, maybe May, yeah. But, you know, so we are working behind the scene to, you know, so this will say there is a lot of project discussion. The other thing that I started doing is with Mike, city planning and what it was, Chad, to have brainstorming meetings. So, you know, like I start discussing about how do we envision Fitchburg growth in the next 5 years. You know, like a brainstorming, you know, like have a structured meeting and they say, put ideas, you know. And we are doing that exercise because I think that one is something that we need to put everything on the table and determine, you know, sometime, you know, doing those exercises you can find good ideas. But we need to allow our city staff to go through that exercise, you know what I mean? So we are trying to do that too. Yeah, so
So what else do you need from our committee? I think the grant writer is an unbelievably excellent idea because we've had several discussions about we are potentially leaving money on the table as things are sitting out there. We don't learn about them until it's too late. What else do you want from this committee, short of the housing things you discussed? Anything else we can do for you as mayor or our city staff?
No, I would like to hear from you. What you think should be what are your priorities as a team, as a committee for this year? If you agree with some of the stuff that we are doing, this priority that I am bringing forward are also council, because I think council agree with most of these. I presented all of these to the council in our first meeting. So this is the council is behind also to all of this housing strategy. They are aware of the challenges that we have in the housing area. People are, there is so many things that people are complaining that Fitchburg is becoming too expensive. It's not Fitchburg; it's the whole region. Who knows? But it's to have those discussions. It's true, some of those comments and how we can, take those comment feedback and do our own internal analysis, assessment, and determine how we can move forward. So,
Julia, I have a couple questions for you. So can you elaborate a little bit on two things? One is how the strategic plan and the feedback that you've heard from not only council, residents and staff, how that aligns with your priorities. And then also, can you just enlighten us a little bit about the referendum and what the approach is to move forward from that? Those are some of the questions. I guess the referendum question we get once in a while, like what's going to happen now? And I'd like to have an educated answer to help send the same message that you're sending out, because you guys might not hear things that people will share with us too. So.
Yeah, okay, the referendum, the referendum failed, and because it failed, it doesn't mean that the needs disappear. You know what I mean? So we have those needs, and we need to take care of those needs, because we have our two biggest departments understaffed and with a lot of challenging. For me, is a priority to determine how we can find the funding, to staff the police department, the fire department, and also we have internal staffing here in the city of Fitchburg, and we have to be fair, So the needs are still there. As you know, the police facility is going to be maybe finalized by 27, and then the operational cost is about $480,000 today. So how we need to find the money too, you know what I mean? So I am thinking on all of that. The last night the council had a meeting to discuss the referendum and what are the potential sources of revenues. Because unfortunately, we need to look for other sources of revenue to cover some of the expenses. So some of those sources of revenue were presented to the council last night for discussion. And for sure, we are going to move forward in the next 2 or 3 months with some of them coming through council for approval. But that one is short term. It's money that is not going to cover the staffing at all. It's going to cover, because the other thing that you need to know that we are revising the agreement with Fitcherona. We are changing the formula. Verona approached us last year and told us, you know what, the formula is not working anymore because we think that we are subsidizing you guys. So for the last year we had meeting with the 3 municipalities to discuss how this new agreement will look like, and the formula will be changed because, the city of Fitchburg is, most of the call, like I would say 60-something% of the call coming to Fitchburg, but we were paying only, 52% to the budget, Fitcherona budget. So that formula is going to be adjusted. So next year for the 2026 budget, we are going to have to pay more. So I need to think about from where I'm going to get the money to. So all of those things are in my mind right now and thinking on the 2026 budget. So yes, Joyce, we will need to find for short-term revenue sources, but also eventually I will imagine that in 2026, the council will have to decide if we go into a public safety referendum again, because we need to, to find the funding for those positions. I don't know. I am not making those calls. The council make those calls. But the needs are still there. And I know people say, oh, with all the growth that you are having, Fitchburg, you should be covering all these expenses. No, we have done the math. The growth, thank you to the growth, we can pay existing services. We are an organization, but we are not immune to inflation. And then with the disruption of COVID in the last 4 years, the cost of construction, the cost of the health insurance for our employee, and many other went up more than our net new construction percentage. So yes, yeah. So you want to watch? I think last night was there was a committee. We recommend all of you to watch the meeting. But yeah, we need to. Eventually, we will need to find some short-term and long-term solution for that. Regarding the strategic plan, yeah, that one is a very good question. I think the first draft of the strategic plan lack a lot of, about the question about growth, where we want to go as a city. I thought that the strategic plan was more like an internal document than like an external document. Me, Julia, personally. The consultant is revising the strategic plan because there were a lot of input from council, from other commissions, H&I and the Community and Equity Commission. So we will see a second draft, and I hope that this strategic plan should be a roadmap aligned with the current priority that this council have, and at least for the next 3 years. But yes, I think that I don't know. Will you have two council members here that they can provide you with some update on that too? But I think that I hope to see the second draft more aligned to our priorities as a council.
So more of a statement than a question. I think watching the fire chief in California talk about the budget cuts and how they didn't have the staff to fight the fires out there. I mean, that was terrifying to watch and think about. And then my first thought was the referendum that didn't pass.
The other thing that people don't understand is our fire department model is more like 25% is full-time and 75% is pay-on-call, part-timers. So, and we are trying, since I became mayor, one of my priorities was to start changing the model, and council has been very supportive of that. But because we used to have like a pool of candidates for pay-on-call for more than 60 people. If we have 30 now, it's too many, okay? And also we need to think that we are paying those people, the starting wage base, is $12. That I increased it in my budget from 9 to 12. I didn't have the money to increase it to 15, and I couldn't do it in the 25 budget because I thought we were going to cover in the referendum. But also we need to think who's going to come to do this type of job for $12 an hour plus.
You can make more than that at Target.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the thing that, and we need to change that model. We need to, because the city of Fitchburg, maybe that model worked 40 years ago, but now we are a city of 35,000 people. So we need to change that model. We need to start thinking like with a full-time career firefighter department. And this is something that I personally and the council are, we are aware of that situation, and we are trying to change the needle. And in the last 2 years, we already hired 4 full-time, firefighter. Yeah. Any other question? Okay.
Yes, Andy.
So actually, I don't know as much questions, more as comments. There's one, glad to hear the zoning code rewrite is coming forward. We've been talking about it for years, so it's good to see it moving forward. On the grant writer, I echo Mark's comments. That's really a critical need because we have been successful in getting grants, but sometimes it feels like it's a fire drill that all of a sudden a grant comes in and then whoever's available, and sometimes it's citizen members of commissions putting grants together on behalf of the city and trying to get because there's just not enough city staff time to do that. And I think in particular when a lot of grants do have some sort of overhead component, the grant writer position will probably pay for itself, either directly. I think it'll more than pay for itself in terms of the number of dollars you'd bring in, but in some cases, if you're getting an overhead allotment for that, you're probably just directly paying the person's salary off of some of those grants that you're getting. Also, just glad to hear about the police facility moving forward. And Fitrona Road moving forward. I'll let Dan has a lot of comments on Fitrona Road, so I'll defer to him. But then also on the business owner meetings, I'm speaking just for myself, but I suspect other CETA members, if you ever need any assistance on that, want people to come with you, I think we're certainly available for that.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
The other thing I want to mention is if people ask from where the money is coming to pay for the update of the comprehensive plan and the zoning code, is all ARPA funds. One of the things that the city of Fitchburg did very well when we got the ARPA fund and the teeth closure, we created an investment plan for one-time project or expense. So even with the grant writer money, the $50,000 are money coming from the teeth closure, or it's a combination of ARPA fund. It's teeth closure now, but so we try to allocate, pay for those big consulting, project with teeth closure money too. So. Because there is another rumor out there that we are, using taxpayer money to hire all these consultants. Some of these big projects we need to have expert people to do it, and we don't have the capacity internally. Our planning department is only 3 people, 3.5, because Phil is, so, and there, you can see all the things that they have with all those housing projects that they had to revise. All of that in admin work. So, so of course they are going to be guiding the comp plan on the zoning, but they experts because we don't have the internal capacity. The same with the housing, plan, all of that stuff. You always need an expert to look at that too. So, yeah, Mark, I don't know.
No, it was between the two of you covered it. So again, I think that it's good to understand. We all know there's too many priorities and not enough bandwidth. So setting them in the right way and what you're going to try and get done this year seems to make some sense. I won't go back into the grant writer. We've had this discussion as well. And I think you can get that somehow at the top of the priority list to get hired. It more than will pay for itself and help us do some of the things we're trying to get done as groups around the city.
And if you know of any grant writer that know how to work with this type of grants, please send it my way or chat or Mike, because we need to have one on, right, that we can go after.
Yes, Alder Allen.
Yeah, and you sent out to the council the League of Municipalities legislative agenda, and one of the things that's affecting us pretty radically here when it comes to housing is the difficulty in building condo units. And I realize that's not a state issue, that's a federal issue, but we need to start leaning on our representatives in Congress and our senators to push for some changes to these regulations that exist now that are making it nearly impossible to build condo buildings. I know of at least 2 developers who contacted me to build condo projects in Fitchburg, and they just couldn't get financing for them.
And the financing, you make a good point, because the financing is not only difficult for the developer, but also for the buyers. People that, get a mortgage for a condo, they had to go to secondary market, you know. So that one is both sides, It's a good point, because the other thing I want to mention that last year I am a member of the League of Wisconsin Municipality. I am part of the board, and I have my second meeting next week. So, and for me, it's a great opportunity to be seated in that board, because I want to learn more. As a new mayor, I want to learn more what is there, how can I advocate for local government, local municipality issues. So that one is, I think, I am very excited to be in that board to learn more. The other thing that I want to mention that I do regularly every 2 months, we have a mayor's work group with mayors of the, Sun Prairie, Verona, Middleton, Stoughton, Monona, Madison, and Fitchburg. We get together, and one of the things that we discuss is how we can start doing more advocacy at state level about our local issues, and create a coalition, not only from, with mayor from, not only from the county, but from another county to increase our share revenues coming from the government, or how to, the formula for the levy limit, any adjustment, So, and that one is another group that I participate regularly, and to learn from from other mayors in the region. And believe it or not, we are all having this kind of the same issues, as a region. So sometimes we think that are our Fitchburg issue, but it's like the county or state issue, the same issue with housing, transportation, all of that. So I am part of all of that too, because I want to learn more. I want to, yes, as a new mayor, I'm going to make some, I'm going to make mistake, but it's part of my process, and I want to also have a group of people that can mentor me in that process, and I think be part of this mayor group. Part of the Mayor's Innovation Project has helped me a lot. The Mayor's Innovation Project is part of the University of Wisconsin. So having all these tools have been part of my learning in the last 2 years.
Julia, I'm going to give a plug for asking your group to work on WIDA programs, because it seems like WIDA, when they develop a program, they have a one-size-fits-all kind of thing, and there's always a string attached, and it appears most of the time that we can't qualify for a lot of the things that are out there for different reasons. It might be a Main Street program or something like that. So I think they need to look at more flexibility when it comes to state dollars and how those dollars go out the door.
Okay.
Other comments? Well, Mayor, thank you.
I would just
sorry.
comment from our staff perspective here. Another focus area is redevelopment and reinvestment in those older sections of the city. So we continue to work on potential redevelopment like Bowman Plaza. We're working on a couple of mixed-use projects in the Southdale neighborhood that hopefully will come forward later this year. So it's not just greenfield development and growing out. It's also redevelopment and reinvesting in some of those existing areas. So we'll keep you focused as those projects start to come to fruition.
We need to add it too. I don't know. I think they're part of the worksheet. I don't know. Maybe we need to add
some of them are. Some are ready yet. But they're in the pipeline.
So okay, I want to say thank you. Thank you for listening. And
Your 3 minutes are up.
You want
3 minutes are up.
I know, but I come here once a year, so so you can accumulate my 3 minutes.
No, this was very informative, and I think the key is that I want to share with you here that we do get good support from your staff on this committee, And I think that's very important. They seem to have a handle on what's going on in our city and do a good job of sharing things with us. So we thank you, and I'll thank the members for their servitude as well. And we'll get through all this.
Okay. No, thank you very much. And thank you too. I know that we have a great team here at CEDA. Okay.
Really? What? What'd you say?
Oh, my Lord.
You didn't bring cookies.
Everything was closed this morning.
Okay, let's move along. We've got a little more on the agenda. Thank you, Mayor. Mike, you are up next with the hotel room tax considerations.
Yep, and we don't have anything as far as
Okay.
considerations at this point.
Then we will move into item number 8, the economic development and committee member reports.
Lorene and Joyce, you guys want to go first with the updates we talked about? Please.
I'm going to give a quick overview of what's going on with the Efficiency Navigator program. We have the implementation phase coming forward. And if you remember, we have $310,000 in the budget set aside for implementation. We decided to split implementation into 2 projects. So the first project that's coming forward is for $72,121. And the reason why we split that is because there's supposedly going to be some rebates coming down the pipeline through the Inflation Reduction Act that we're hoping to capitalize on for windows and heat pumps. So we decided, instead of bringing these projects forward, we'll bring that project back to the council at a later date and hopefully capitalize on some of the items that are out there. As long as I'm talking about that, we had partnered a while back on a grant with the City of Madison, and it's called the Community Change Grant. And that is also for sustainable updates to our affordable housing. And we were successful in getting the grant, and it's for $20 million to provide sustainable updates in our neighborhoods that are, I believe, 80% or less of AMI. We do have one neighborhood that qualifies, and that is Southdale. And Southdale has some buildings that need some significant work, hence the reason why we split the project up into 2 buckets. So we're going to see how we do with that grant. As you know, there's been a kind of a stop right now through some executive orders on some parts of the Inflation Reduction Act, at least for 90 days. So we want to wait and see what happens with dollars that have been allocated but not received. So we're excited to get the Efficiency Navigator program moving forward. That will be coming to us in February for approval.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, folks. You still got the floor.
All
Go
right.
ahead, Lorene.
So a couple of things I've already kind of discussed before, and that's the housing plan, which is coming to the council again late February or early March, and then also the intern that was approved today. Some other things is Mayor Julia talked about the $600,000 grant that we were awarded with Dane County for infrastructure. So once we learn a little bit more about the funding piece of it, then we will possibly start an RFP process. Well, that's still kind of in the works. We're still kind of talking internally to determine the next steps for that. Also, Mayor Julia also talked about the Developers Forum. She indicated April. We may have to push it maybe more to May. But we applied for a grant with the Realtors Association for that. And are still kind of finalizing kind of the details of how we'll plan that out. Some other things, just to kind of support the healthy neighborhoods, we reached out to a gentleman named Mitch, and he runs the neighborhood law clinics throughout Madison. So he will be coming to the food pantry and provide legal services. There's law students there that also speak Spanish that will kind of provide kind of like eviction prevention and any kind of issues maybe that they're facing with landlords. So that support system will be there, and that's free of charge. And then also another thing that just kind of in the infancy stages of looking at the Sunshine Place that's in Sun Prairie, just kind of looking at their model and if that's something that we can possibly do here. Obviously, there's a lot of moving pieces, things like the funding, right? Again, just kind of starting. I'll be meeting with them next week, Friday. So that's it.
Thank you. Others?
Okay, up to me next here. Multiple updates for you. The SIP for the Jamestown Quarry across from Super Target has been approved, and the architectural design and reviews are starting to come forward. So across the front, again, we've got Chase Bank, Chick-fil-A, Crew Car Wash, and McDonald's. So McDonald's and Chase have been through ADR. Chick-fil-A delayed a month, and then we're still working with Crew on the design for theirs, but those will be the four that'll be across the front. And then possibly one large box or a collection of junior boxes with the northern 2/3. And then as Fitzgerald veers to the east, that's where Corey Frank, who does the Texas Wrap apartment buildings, will start hopefully later this spring, early summer to do a Texas Wrap apartment building there. Probably about 280 multifamily units in that area. Bowman Plaza redevelopment, we've got a meeting today, Chad and I do with Ned Hoyt from Adventure Capital to get an update on that project. Hopefully they'll be coming forward later this spring and summer to do the 7-story building, 5 floors, over 2 floors of structured parking, about 280 units, and then about 9,500 square feet of commercial space that would be right up to the street. So that would be an important catalytic redevelopment on the west side of Fish Hatchery Road. The Newcomb construction minor comp plan amendment for the O'Brien property along Seminole Highway south of Hop House there was approved. So hopefully they'll come forward later this spring and summer with their plans for multifamily housing units. I mentioned that there's a draft Article 3 plan that's been submitted for the Holmes Bobberschmidt land. And one of the first projects that we will see there where Central Park Place goes to the northwest, there's a parcel of land just to the south of that where Corey Frank, he won't be doing a Texas Wrap building, but he'll be doing an apartment building there, about 110 units. But that'll start to open up that Holmes Bobberschmidt land, again, which is some of that key inventory of vacant land in the urban service area. You know, that's in Uptown, so as you come off the Lacey Road interchange and then Central Park veers to the northwest, there's a lot of that is owned by the Holmes Bobberschmidt land that's kind of detached from the rest of their acreage there. That falls on the south side, and he'll be doing a multifamily rental property there. Then we're continuing to work with the collective group, now I'm still in Uptown, with UW Health, LifePoint, Sanders Trust, and Avante on the physical rehabilitation hospital, which will be the next project to go, commercial project to go in Uptown Fitchburg. They have a purchase agreement now between Sanders Trust and Avante. So they need to come forward with a preliminary plat, final plat, Article 5, which is basically the architectural design and review process through Smart Code. But they would like to be in the ground starting in July of 2025. So we want to get them on some future development team meetings to keep that process moving forward because there's some key deadlines and things like that to hit that July kind of summer groundbreaking that they want to do.
Mike, can I stop you?
Yeah.
Can I stop you? Just a question. We've talked before with this group, and I've continued to hear discussions around the city. There's no food. It's a food desert over there as far as grocery stores. I don't mean restaurants. But is there anything going on actively along all this development that you've talked about to try and get somebody, I guess that's Alder Allen's area too, to get something in there that's going to help the people who live over there?
Obviously, the grocers are going to follow the trade ring demographics there with population density, rooftops, purchasing power, traffic counts, and things like that. So that's why we've been so focused on trying to get the Holmes-Bobberschmidt land. We've had good development going in Terravessa and everything. So the trade ring is starting to get better over there, and Joyce is running some reports through the Buxton software that this group and the council authorized and everything. But we've also been proactive to reach out to developers that have experience in doing mixed-use buildings that incorporate grocery stores.
Okay.
And we were supposed to have a meeting with them this week. They needed to reschedule that. And so hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we will have an audience with them to say, is it time, or what's kind of the time horizon to drive a project somewhere over there in that land. So that's a top priority and on our radar screen, and we're trying to be proactive in those conversations for it. Joyce and I just talked about that yesterday, in fact.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then minor comp plan amendment process for spring was just launched yesterday. Those applications are due February 18th at noon. The Healthy Neighborhoods Initiative grants process is out there right now. Those application submittals close on February 10th at 4 p.m. A couple of expansion projects. Noble Night Games, the board game company up in the Fitchburg Commerce Park, is doing another expansion up there, so that's great to see that. Blue Plate Catering is taking and is reinvesting in what used to be the A1 Furniture Building, most recently Little John's. So they'll be transforming that not only into their headquarters catering operations, but also a small event space there up to about 150 people. On the workforce housing front over here on the east side, just to the east of the Lacey Road Haight Farm kind of roundabout there, Sean O'Brien will be doing, I think it's 24 or 27 townhome units that will be workforce. He has a TIF request in right now. We've been working with Ellers on that analysis. There's two scenarios we might go. One might be a pay-as-you-go developer bond to fill the gap that they have. They're getting WIDA tax credits, Federal Home Loan Bank money, and some other sources, Dane County Affordable Housing Fund. Or we may do what Julia had described as far as maybe an upfront deferred loan that could potentially then be repaid back after the 15-year period there. So we'll keep you posted on, we're having some internal meetings on those scenarios and working with Sean on that. But it'll bring us some much needed townhome product at workforce housing kind of levels there. Yeah. North Point. The Pines south of the golf course there has, if you've driven down Fish Hatchery Road, has now been rebranded as Renew. And it's managed by Trinity, and so we're trying to get some information on the new ownership group and also the management company for that property. So this is, again, what was owned by Plusco, both the fairways and the pines, north and south of the golf course. So the southern part, at least, is now branded as Renew, managed by Trinity. The other larger complex, the naturally occurring affordable housing that recently sold, is the Sun Valley Apartments, which was acquired by Monarch, which is the group that has our New Fountains apartments there. So we had a meeting with them. They're going to be coming forward with a small building on some of the vacant land on their property that's going to be for a new leasing office and a fitness center. Currently, those operations take up 2 apartment units, so they're going to build a new building, and then that'll free up 2 more apartments in their portfolio. What was interesting about that conversation, some of you that have been around a long time might remember there were plans submitted to redevelop that property as something called the Aspen Park Apartments, where it was going to be done in phases and it would have doubled the density at that site. So when we were on the Zoom call with them, I just kind of broached the subject and said, hey, any interest in pursuing the Aspen Park Apartments if the city's willing to be a collaborative partner through a tax increment finance district? And the response is no. Their business model is to kind of acquire some of these larger naturally occurring affordable housing properties and kind of hold and just kind of maintain there. So so just to give you a sense of some of the things that are happening in that older multifamily housing stock, with the Efficiency Navigator program, we're looking at kind of reinvestment, rehabilitation of those smaller mom and pop owner buildings. But, where we kind of have a disconnect right now is some of that older multifamily that how do we find some partners where we can work on really significant reinvestment and rehabilitation and or redevelopment, and Lorena and I have talked about this with Fairways in the Pines, where there's some acreage there. Could we do some infill, even as maybe some of these entities own those properties? Is there an opportunity to bring some ownership product, like a 8 or 10 unit townhome that could fill in, in some of the areas that they have. So those are some of the challenges on kind of those larger multifamily housing properties that we have.
So before you move on from that, so Plesco no longer owns the Pines?
Correct.
Or the Fairways.
Oh, they
Did
don't.
the Fairways sell too? Okay, I wasn't sure on that. We were asking that question yesterday. Yeah, so they're both owned by this new entity now. Okay, and Trinity is the management company, but the ownership group is
FPA or something like that. It's an LLC out of like Sacramento, California.
Yeah.
So we've been told for years that the way the financing on those properties was set up with WIDA loans and whatever, that it was completely tied up and nothing could be done to improve things there. I presume with a new ownership group that they would have had to refinance these properties. So does that mean that there could be possible opportunities for doing some other things there, like we've talked about in the past?
I think this is so new, Jay, that part of the reason we just had a conversation yesterday was to be proactive to reach out to this new management company and ownership group to start to have conversations to see what does this mean and maybe what are there opportunities there. So we'll keep you updated as we learn more. This is kind of like breaking news as far as very, very recent.
Fix it.
Here. Okay. So
if the news,
well, we're on it. Okay.
If the news is
as
broken,
far as reaching
then
out
fix
to
it.
people. Okay. Yeah. And then we're having multiple discussions with multiple workforce housing developers. As Julia mentioned, we sent one her way last week, Friday, that Lorena and I have met with, and then there's multiple other ones that we're working with all around the city there. So one of the questions that we're going to need to bring forward to both the Housing Advisory Committee and to CETA is, as we're working with those workforce housing developers, where do the resources come from the city of Fitchburg to fill their gap? And one of the messages that we're conveying is Fitchburg shouldn't be the first in. We should kind of be the last in to fill that gap. So people should be going to WIDA, they should be going to the Federal Home Loan Bank, they should be going to the Dane County Affordable Housing Fund, as well as the Workforce Housing Fund through the Madison Development Corporation downtown, and then we fill in the remainder. But then the question is, where's our source of financing and money coming from? Is it through existing TID districts, or are we using the Affordable Housing Fund, TID for housing dollars that we have? But if we're going to tap into the TID for housing dollars, one of the things that we will need to work with you all on and with the Housing Advisory Committee is, what is that process? Because we just can't unilaterally decide, well, money's going to go to this specific project, because as we just said, we're having conversations with multiple workforce and affordable housing developers. So is it that we're going to issue an RFP to say, hey, we're dedicating X amount of dollars through our TID for Housing Fund, and workforce housing developers submit your proposals and your projects, and then we will evaluate those. Now, the one that Julia just talked to on Friday, one of the strategies we may use is, and Joyce is going to hit me with this, we may look to amend a TID district to maybe bring in some parcels and expand the geographic area. So that could be a different strategy of how we get to those parcels that this particular developer is looking at that would allow us to participate in that project. So we'll keep you posted as we make progress, but that's been consuming a lot of our time and a lot of internal discussions, but it's a conversation we're going to need to have both with the Housing Advisory and CETA as far as when we're considering proposals and projects, what is that process that we have to go through? Just because being government, we have to kind of be make sure we're being fair and equitable to different entities as we're having discussions. So stay tuned on that one.
Mike, I know that under the statutes, economic development authorities have the capacity to issue revenue bonds, where perhaps we could help finance some of these things at a lower interest rate than conventional lending. Have we looked into that possibility at all?
No, we haven't. We're going to be at the Ellers Conference February 13th and 14th. Yeah. So we want to have some conversations with Greg and Keith Dahl about different strategies, that we can use to kind of finance, underwrite, and do some creative things. Ellers is so helpful and so skilled. They've been, even as we've been talking about like the Sean O'Brien North Point proposal and some other ones, to pitch the idea to us. Our practice has been to really operate under MRO pay-as-you-go developer bonds, but the idea of an upfront deferred loan that would get paid back at the end of a 15-year period that then would expand our kind of housing loan portfolio and everything is something that's intriguing to us. And there's also benefits to the developers of having that upfront note as they're working with WIDA on the light tech credits and everything there. So we want to explore all those options to see what makes sense for us as well as for the developer and everything. So we're just kind of learning as we go along here, but we've got some good consultants with Ellers to kind of lead us down those paths. So, and then lastly, the Wyndham Garden Hotel, Dave Schutz sold that property. So we're going to be, I need to reach out to that property owner. That's probably going to be one of our business visits with the mayor and with Chad. And we've gotten word that there is going to be an entity that reopens what was the Tuscany restaurant. I think they're looking at kind of March or April. They have to go through the liquor license process and everything here. My understanding is with the acquisition of the property, there will be hopefully a significant kind of reinvestment that they do with the Wyndham flag. And one of the requirements of the Wyndham flag there is that they are supposed to have a restaurant operating on the site. So they'll be bringing back some kind of restaurant operations there. And then the last thing is the Thermo Fisher property there. You might recall that there was an entity looking to acquire a 7-acre parcel right on McKee Road, just west of the Badger State Trail. That closed. We just got the documents I see this morning that was recorded at the county and everything. So hopefully that allows that community development project to continue to progress at that site. Yeah.
What's going in there?
I can't say yet. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's good. It's good for the community. And we just don't know the timing of it either yet.
Okay, anything else?
Actually, I kind of wanted to bring up, so I watched the Healthy Neighborhoods Grant meeting, and I know that there's a lot of questions about housing and how that works. And I guess I feel like there's a lot of crossover. So I would appreciate it if our representatives on that Healthy Neighborhoods group would engage with Laureen so she can tell them what she's doing. Because it seems like there might be some like crossover, or really she should be the person working on that. And I know housing is a huge issue and it's not something we're going to solve at the local level. We don't have enough money or resources. But I was disappointed when I was hearing, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Well, you haven't even gave Laureen a chance to do anything yet. So I wish you guys would engage with her, please.
Well, we
brought that up.
Yeah.
And I'm meeting with Lorene after this. Excuse me, Jay. So, yes, you are correct. And we wandered into mental health, healthcare, and food desert. We wandered into things that were outside, I think, the scope of that group. So Jay and I did bring it up, and we're meeting after this one, the two of us, and I hope that's on the agenda. So it wasn't done, Joyce, it wasn't brought up by us.
Well, I mean, so I had a meeting
With the new chair.
back in December with the new chair of that committee. And one of the things that our committee is tasked with is working on the Healthy Neighborhoods Initiative strategic plan, which is different than the city's strategic plan. And as we were going through that, there were a couple of striking things that nowhere in the Healthy Neighborhoods Initiative strategic plan, as it exists right now, was there even a discussion about housing security or food security. And those are pretty important things. So our discussion at the last meeting was about how we're going to revise the Healthy Neighborhoods Initiative strategic plan. We don't have any money to do anything either. So, I mean, it's not like we can go out and say, well, we're going to do 10,000 things. But one of the things we did talk about, and I brought this up Tuesday night at the council meeting, is that many of these committees are operating kind of in their own vacuum. So one of the things that H&I is also concerned with is transportation. And so we talked about the possibility of having maybe once a year just scheduling a joint meeting with CETA, H&I, Transportation and Transit, Housing, and maybe looking through our other committees and see which other ones are dealing with these so we can integrate our efforts and keep working toward a common goal. So that's really what the discussion was about. It wasn't about trying to come up with some new housing proposals. It was just about we feel like, on our committee anyway, the members who are on it right now feel like part of their mission is to try to ensure some housing security, food security, transportation, because that's what makes these neighborhoods healthy. So these are all efforts that need to happen together. I don't know how it's going to play out in real life because, as you know from the past, the city hasn't always been very good about even working together internally, let alone working with outside groups. So.
Go ahead.
To that point, Jay, and Joyce wasn't at the meeting this week, but we have a weekly meeting, the three of us, to get together. And then Jessica, staff for H&I, joins us every 2 weeks on it for that very reason.
Right.
To kind of coordinate, communicate, to make sure that we're not operating in silos and everything. And we just talked this Tuesday about Lorene's going to be going to a Healthy Neighborhoods meeting and everything to help, again, connect the dots from a housing perspective there. I think the other area that we as CETA staff are working on and we're very cognizant of are areas where we do have food deserts, not only in Uptown but in Southdale. And I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but we're not only working on some things for Uptown, but there's something we're trying to work on for Southdale too. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. But those things are on our radar screen as well. So we're kind of aligned and in sync with some of those priorities.
So I agree with everything. And again, Joyce, it was not done on purpose to not bring it up. Because like I said, we did bring up that we have a new colleague in your department working on this. And we need it. They got into biking too, if you really listen to it. I mean, we moved all over that playing field. And we do sit some of these commissions in silos. And I think it is important that we all know, that's why we have, I'll give an example, that's why we have priorities for the Bike Commission. And I can hand them to anybody here and you can see what we're working on. And I think it's important that we do that for all of these groups. I'll look at my alders, I say that down the road is what's everybody working on? So we know, and somebody can say, well, wait a second, that's got a transportation issue, we need T&T involved. So it's a matter of communication, so.
And
we'll get there,
I guess I was just disappointed because I felt like not only was she getting beat up, but we've done, before she came, we've done a lot of housing initiatives, and I'm just tired of hearing we're not doing anything. Because we busted our butts to get a lot of stuff done, and it's getting old. very old. So what I'm asking is from now on, if you have an issue, talk to us before you go on a rampage on TV. I was just like, whoa, give the poor girl a chance.
Well, I apologize.
And if you,
I apologize on behalf of our committee if you felt attacked, because that wasn't the intention at all. We were talking in very broad terms about the things that our committee needs to try to work on, because and our committee feels that they need to at least have some input into housing, because that's part of what makes these neighborhoods healthy. It wasn't to attack anybody or to beat up on you.
well,
It was just, we're trying to work. We've been tasked with redoing this strategic plan for HNI, and it wasn't. I mean, I think the main attack was on the 2019 HNI strategic plan, which doesn't mention housing and doesn't mention food security and doesn't mention transportation at all.
well, when we originally started with this health and all policies, that's how this whole neighborhood initiative came up, and it was a collective group of planning, economic development, the senior center, the rec center, and I believe we did have someone, the library, yep, and transportation. So we all went through the health and all policies program through the university, but we were kind of all pushed out, and it was brought into a silo of 2 people. So originally, it was a much larger group that worked on the initiative.
I don't know. I don't know about any of that.
No, I'm just giving you the background when,
So what our committee knows is that strategic plan is woefully inadequate. And we weren't there to blame anybody. We were just there to say, we got to redo this. We got to probably going to have to rewrite the entire thing and come up with some better options. And it's just not, I mean, that strategic plan, if that's an official city document, it's useless as it is as it's written right now. And I'm not blaming you for that. I
didn't write it, so.
I know. And it's just, that's what our discussion was about the 2019 strategic plan.
Well, from my standpoint, it's just keeping in mind the audience, because your audience is much further and wider now.
Yeah.
Because if you're not if you're not at the meeting, like I wasn't, but I heard about it because I watched it because of a different reference, and then I was like, whoa, poor Lorene didn't even get a chance to even come meet with you or tell you guys what you were doing, and you're already like, well, this needs to happen, and that's all we've heard since for months here. No, actually years, and we're just tired. We're tired. And I'm going to speak up because that's who I am.
I'm glad you did, because I had no idea that our discussion would have come across as a personal attack on you. I mean, I don't think Lorene's name wasn't mentioned, your name wasn't mentioned. We were talking about that 2019 plan. And if you have a copy of it, go take a look at it. You will find that there's nothing in it about transportation, housing, or food security. And those are things that are important to have healthy neighborhoods. So that was what our discussion was focused on. It wasn't saying the city's done nothing or that you have done nothing.
Well, it kind of gave the impression that nothing has been done.
Well, Joyce, I agree with Jake. There wasn't that intent. And again, I do remember the one point I brought up. I said, we've got somebody who's now doing this. Let's get with them. And I think that one way to resolve this is we ask, I've met with Jessica independently. I just went on that group. I've been to 3 of those meetings. And the one the other night was a brand new chair. because Ryan's stepping down. Ryan Husselman, does that sound right?
I don't know.
Ryan's stepping down. And I think between staffing, we've got Jessica, who's new to her role, Lorene, who's relatively new, and I think we just need to get everybody talking on the same page. Because I agree with Jay that we were going down rabbit holes that I don't think that group should have been working on. We've got this grant money to focus on, and that's what it should be. So I agree with him. Nobody was trying to say anybody didn't do anything. I, if nothing else, know how hard the people over here work. I also understand fully there's too many priorities. There's too many things on our plates. And I think that's part of the issue we need to be aware of in the future. But I think we can fix this because as this plan gets redone and as we move forward, I mean, I think there's a way to work around this. So, particularly, we have two people who weren't here a year ago. So,
and if you guys can help us when there are housing things to direct them, to Lorene. And then one thing we talked about on Tuesday with Lorene, Jessica, and I is when we're going through the Fitchburg Housing Plan update, and specifically the community and neighborhood outreach that Lorene referenced before, we want the Healthy Neighborhoods Committee to help to not only engage themselves directly, but also help us reach, different community residents in those respective neighborhoods as well. So there's going to be a lot of coordination and engagement, as we go through that housing plan update, that they will have plenty of opportunity for input and involvement.
okay, anything else for the good of the group? All right, our next meeting then, any announcements?
One thing. Sorry. We are in conversations with Gorman and Company about an affordable single-family workforce proposal. We had an internal staff meeting that generated some questions and maybe some requests for additional information. So we're in the process of summarizing that, having administration look at it, and then we'll get that out to Gary. But the intent is that maybe at the February Housing Advisory Committee meeting on February 10th, and then the CETA meeting, the next one, that they would be here to kind of share the concepts and ideas involved with that proposal. So stay tuned.
Okay, thank you. Are there other announcements from the committee members? Hearing none, our next meeting is Thursday, February 26th at 7 a.m. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved
Second.
and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.